Empower your hybrid cloud workloads and leverage Cisco HyperFlex with Cisco Intersight to deploy containers in minutes. Hybrid cloud and container deployments represent a growing percentage of all application environments in the data centers, but they also mean a paradigm shift in the way day-to-day operations are performed in the data center. Because of these differences, deploying fully designed and configured container environments traditionally meant a significant time and learning investment. This changes now with Cisco Intersight Kubernetes Service and Cisco Intersight Workload Engine. IKS and IWE enable fast and simple deployment and management of fully featured, fully upstream Kubernetes environments on Cisco HyperFlex. Let's take a look at an actual installation procedure of a HyperFlex system from bare metal servers to a fully featured Kubernetes container environment. In our case, we will install Kubernetes on a vSphere HyperFlex installation, but you can also choose to install Kubernetes with Intersight Workload Engine, a Cisco proprietary hypervisor that removes the need for additional licensing. We start our deployment process on a HyperFlex system that was installed by Cisco Intersight through a typical HyperFlex installation procedure. Similar to HyperFlex installation, the Kubernetes installation on Cisco Intersight is initiated by creating a cluster profile. Under Profiles in the Intersight interface, we choose to create a Kubernetes cluster profile. We provide the organizational unit for the cluster and the cluster name. In the cluster configuration step, we provide the IP address pools to be used for external and internal system communication. We add SSH keys to be used in the installation. In this step, we also configure infrastructure DNS and NTP services. There are also optional policies available here to configure trusts and container runtime, but we will leave those empty for now. In the control plane node pool configuration step, you configure the control and worker nodes for the installed Kubernetes environment. You define the desired minimum and maximum number of control nodes. These settings determine how many control nodes will be set up in the environment and the scalability of the control nodes. We determine the Kubernetes version. Typically, the latest version will be used. We provide the IP pool for the control nodes. Like with other Intersight policies, we can reuse or create a new policy. Here, we already have an IP pool policy created, so we just select it. But we do not have a virtual machine infrastructure policy created. This policy determines the infrastructure configuration for the installation. We will select a 3-node Edge HyperFlex cluster as the target, select a data store on the cluster, and provide the vCenter credentials to give the installer permission to create the Kubernetes vSphere objects. We also select the port group to be used in the installation. After the policy is created on the fly, we add it to the installation profile. Once we have set up all the policies for the control nodes, we do the same for the worker nodes. The policies we have used in the previous step are automatically available for reuse. In our case, we will use the same IP pool for worker nodes as well. We can configure additional add-ins for the installation. After which, the system presents a summary overview of our profile creation process. We can still change the configuration if we misconfigured something. After we confirm the profile creation, the profile will be applied to our selected 3-node HyperFlex deployment. We can follow along with the process by clicking on it in the Requests pane. This takes us to the detailed deployment action list, where we can see exactly what the installation is doing. After about 20 minutes, the installation is done and we have our environment ready to use. If we log into the vCenter of our HyperFlex Edge deployment, there is now one control and one worker node installed on the data store that we have selected during our profile creation. The virtual machines are also automatically already configured with the network that we have selected, both by selecting the appropriate port group in vSphere and configuring the internal IP network addressing. To use our Kubernetes installation, we will need to configure our local control environment so that we can connect to the control plane of the installed Kubernetes configuration. We can do that by downloading the kubeconfig configuration file from the Intersight interface to our local machine. In our local system command line, we can now copy the downloaded configuration file to our Kubernetes configuration. This will provide the keys and the addressing information, allowing us to execute kubectl commands that manage our installed Kubernetes environment. At this point, we can start using our Kubernetes environment, and the entire process from start to finish took us less than half an hour by leveraging the power of Cisco Intersight and Cisco HyperFlex.